Doctor, you're suggesting that it's going to take until May 7th for you to complete your reports in this case?
And the analysis, yes.
Do you know when this trial started?
I think like a week or so ago.
You provided raw data last Friday,
Yes.
but you would agree you still have not provided any reports.
Correct.
You said if you were notified or received information, you could have your testing and opinions done within a month, correct?
Potentially. Again, it would also depend on when we got authorization from the Department of Justice, which, as I mentioned, was at the very end of March.
I understand that. We're going to talk about that separately. I'm talking specifically about how long it would take if you received the information. You said that you could have the testing and reports done in 1 month, correct?
I don't know. I said the testing, the reports, and everything.
Would it take longer than a month?
Ideally, I think it depends on what kind of a report that we're talking about. I think if it's something along the lines that Dr. Wrenchler produced, I think it could be pretty quick.
You said March 26th is when you received authorization, and you're going to have things done by May 7th. So that's a month and a week?
Sounds about right.
Okay. Do you know when the Commonwealth in this case turned over Dr. Welch's information to the defense? Do you know?
I don't know, no.
Did you know that it was turned over in a report on January 30th?
Just the report?
Yes.
I didn't know that,
And
no.
the file in its entirety was turned over by February 5th? Did you know that?
Objection, Your Honor.
Do you know that?
I don't, Your Honor.
And if you had a month from February 5th to complete your testing and report, you could have been done by March 5th or even the second week of March, couldn't you?
Presuming we had authorization, the defense had authorization from the Department of Justice as well as ARCCA, yes.
Putting aside the authorization, I'm going to ask you about that. But just the time you need to test, if you knew or received the information by February 5th, you could have been done by March 5th or mid-March, couldn't you?
Potentially, yes.
Well, you're going to get it done that quickly now, so wouldn't that be an accurate guide to when you could have done it then?
It's certainly not ideal, but we certainly are working as quickly as we can.
I know it's not ideal, but isn't it the same time frame? Whatever it's going to take you from March 26th, you could have done from February 5th. True?
Again, I don't know the timeline in terms of what exactly was produced when from Dr. Wrenchler, so I'm not aware of that.
But I'm not asking about the timeline. I'm talking about the time needed to deal with this information. You said you could have done in around a month.
I think a month or more, yes.
So your contract with the federal government ended, ARCCA's did, in June of 2024, didn't it?
I believe it was sometime last year, yes.
Do you know the Commonwealth notified the defense that they were going to have a new expert back in October of 2024?
No.
Are you aware of any effort by ARCCA or the defense to try to facilitate an agreement that the defense could use ARCCA as witnesses back in October or November of 2024?
No.
Are you aware of any efforts by the defense to try to notify the federal government to be able to use ARCCA in December or January?
No.
And so as far as you knew, this came out of nowhere in March, that the defense wanted to use ARCCA, or specifically you and Dr. Rentschler, in late March of 2025?
No, I think, again, it was, like I said, around February of 2025. I know that, like I said, when I spoke to Mr. Jackson, that he had indicated that the ARCCA issue was being litigated. And I think that, like I said, there was, I think, multiple motions pending against us, and he didn't even know if he could move forward with us at that point in time.
Do you know why the defense waited until February 2025 to even seek permission from the federal government to retain you and Dr. Rentschler so you could review the materials?
Objection, Your Honor.
Do you know? Do you happen to know that?
I don't know, no.
Next question.
You shared with us communications you had with the United States Attorney's Office. Were you receiving information in this case since the last trial from the defense or from the United States Attorney's Office?
What do you mean with respect to information?
Evidence, discovery, information.
From the Department of Justice?
Anybody?
No, not until recently, no.
So you haven't seen any discovery until after February of 2025. Isn't that fair to say?
Correct.
Okay. Now, when you were involved in this case before trial last year, we talked about your communications and conversations with the defense. Was anybody giving you information as an intermediary? Was anybody updating you on the defense or the case or giving other information to you?
Yeah, I think I previously testified that the Department of Justice was closely watching the trial and providing us information.
What information were they providing you about the trial?
I think that they provided information regarding some of the witnesses that had testified with respect to, I think, the reconstructionists, and I think some of the evidence.
So when the Department of Justice was giving you information during the trial about witnesses, what witnesses do you remember they were giving you information about?
One that comes to mind was, and I don't even recall his name, it would have been the accident reconstructionist.
Is it a coincidence that when you were receiving information from the Department of Justice about particular witnesses testifying in this case, is it a coincidence that your phone calls and text messages are more frequent?
Is it a coincidence?
Yes.
I presume so.
Well, when you were receiving information from the Department of Justice about witness testimony in this case, was that part of the catalyst for you to either call or text the defense and ask questions?
No.
Did you ever share any of the information you received from the Department of Justice with the defense?
No.
When you were receiving information from the Department of Justice about witness testimony, that was before you testified, correct?
Correct.
And part of that, when they were giving you information, did they ever give you any live video?
No. It was
Yep.
just verbal
And
communication.
they were giving you updates and summaries of testimony?
I wouldn't say summaries. They just pointed out some key things I think that came out.
What were the key things they were talking about with the reconstructionist testimony? What were they telling you?
I think it was, as it relates to the arm being outstretched, and I think some of the kinematics of the pedestrian. I also think there was some mention of potentially some DNA evidence.
And is that how at trial, even though you had no evidence that was produced as part of your report, or to consider for your report, that you knew that there was DNA evidence because of the intermediary?
Because of the Department of Justice?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you know there was a sequestration order in this case that you were not supposed to consider or review other witnesses' testimony or information? Did you know that?
I was never made aware of that. no.
Nobody made you aware about a sequestration order in this case?
No.
But you did, in fact, receive information about other witnesses' testimony before you testified in this case in front of the jury, didn't you?
From the Department of Justice, yes.
What other witnesses were you advised about their testimony and issues in this case before your testimony in this case?
That's all I recall.
Well, you said it was more than one. You said some witnesses. Take a moment, think back. What other witnesses stand out that you were offered information from the Department of Justice about this case before you testified?
As I mentioned, I don't know which witness provided the DNA information, but I would presume that that's the other witness, yes.
So you heard information, you learned that there was information and testimony about DNA,
Yes.
and certainly when you took that information before you testified, you considered it when you testified, didn't you?
No, because again, our report was already solidified, so it didn't change my opinion in any way.
Well, not about whether it changed your opinion. You testified about DNA, didn't you?
I don't believe that I did, no.
I'm going to approach, if I may, Your Honor.
Okay.
This is your outline with your comments. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
I'd like to introduce that as an exhibit, please. Thank you.
Exhibit 3.
So, as an expert, when you receive information, you need time to look at the raw data, don't you?
Potentially, yes.
You need time to look at the report of another expert, don't you?
Potentially.
And then you got to consider whether or not you think that their testing is accurate. You can test their testing, can't you?
You can, yes.
And you can also generate new tests based on what you've read, if you think that there is some explanation needed. Yes?
Perhaps, yes.
And then you can write a report.
Yes.
So it's fair to say when an expert introduces new information, testing materials, it takes about, if not at least a month, to process through that information, vet it, and then consider your own testing.
Well, if they've already authored a report and done their own testing, that should be solidified and memorialized already.
Well, if there's new testing, if a new expert does something new, and an expert wants to look at it, you would agree to sift through that much information and consider and vet it and then do independent testing, it could take over a month, couldn't it?
If it's necessary.
And it would be the expert that determines whether or not that was necessary, wouldn't it?
Sure.
And if your report is not due until May 7th, is that what you said, May 7th?
Yes.
May 7th. It could take an expert, if they wanted to do testing based on new testing that you provided, over a month, couldn't it?
It depends. I can't answer that.
When you wrote that initial report and you provided the report, how many pages was it? 10, 12 pages?
The original DOJ report?
The report that you produced in this case with your opinions, yes.
That sounds about right.
Okay. You never gave the raw data for that report, did you?
No, it was all protected.
It was all what?
It was protected as classified.
Have you been asked for it? Has there been a request made for all the raw data that formed the basis of your opinions, of those initial opinions?
My understanding from communication with the Department of Justice is that all communication and work product is protected and cannot be disclosed.
So that raw data that's necessary to you for your evaluation and your testing, that wasn't provided in this case, was it?
For the first trial?
Yes.
No.
And videos of the demonstration, you built like a potato cannon, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Potato cannon.
If that's how you want to characterize it, sure.
Okay. Did you take videos of it when you were doing your demonstrations and tests?
Yes.
Never turned over those videos, did you?
Again, we're talking about trial one. As I mentioned, for trial two, let me
asking
finish.
about trial one, so
Okay.
no, I want you to focus on.
Okay, no, that
trial
was
one.
not produced, no.
Never turned over any of those videos, did you?
Again, we were not able to.
And was there any failed testing the first time around?
No.
In addition to videos, I'm sure you had other raw data, notes, photographs, right?
Yes.
And so when you look at a report, so for example, you saw Dr. Welch's report and you had access now to his file and data, correct?
Correct.
You reviewed that, didn't you?
Yes.
Because to be fair, you need to review not just the report, that's just someone's opinion. You need to review the raw data, don't you, to get an accurate understanding of an opinion?
Right, which we have already provided
Right,
in
so-
response to Dr. Welcher.
Without video and without the raw data, as an expert, there's no ability to really vet the reliability of your first experiments that led to your testimony in trial one, is there?
I think you might be confused. Again, our role for this round.
I don't think
first-
I am.
Objection, Your Honor, you should be allowed to answer.
I don't think I'm confused. I'm talking about trial one.
Right.
You had a 12-page report. You provided no video, no raw data, no notes, correct?
Correct. But for this trial, sir, we are being asked to respond to Dr. Welcher.
That's
Okay?
not what I'm
We
asking
have
you.
provided everything that he would need to evaluate the testing that we have done.
That's not what I'm asking you. What if he wants to evaluate the testing you did the first time? Are you going to come into court? Do you hope to testify about the opinions you gave the first time? About those 4 opinions?
I don't know what the defense's plan is for us. My understanding is that it's to evaluate and respond to Dr. Welcher.
All right, with that, I need to see counsel with that. You're all set, and let's bring Dr. Rentschler in here, please.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
Follow me, sir.
Thank you.
Follow me, sir. Step line up, clerk, raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give to the court and the matter now in hearing shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, Dr. Rentschler, this is going to be very quick. Go ahead, Mr. Brennan. We
Thank
just
you.
need his name.
Good afternoon, doctor.
Good afternoon.
Could you please state your name for the record and spell it?
Dr. Andrew John Rentschler, ANDREWJOHNRENTSCHLER.
You've testified before in this case?
I have, yes, sir.
In a last voir dire in a past trial?
That's correct.
Okay. Did you have conversations and communications with the defense before your last testimony?
I did, yes.
Did you use text messages to communicate?
I believe there was maybe one text message.
Okay. How about phone calls?
There was maybe 1 or 2 phone calls, I believe.
Okay. Would it be fair to say there was 6 text messages for you?
Yeah, I believe I sent one, and then there were 5 sent to me.
And were there 23 phone calls?
No, I don't believe so.
Have you looked at the records outlining the phone calls that supposedly you made to the defense?
I looked at the records from the defense, but then I looked at my own records, which indicate a different number, only 3 phone calls, I believe.
Okay, so the 23 phone calls that are summarized, you don't think you made those phone calls?
No, if you look at them, it's like 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, and in that time period, according to my phone records, I have like a 21-minute phone call that encompasses most of that time.
Okay. Did you discuss with the defense before your testimony anything about this case?
I don't believe so, no.
When you say you don't believe so, do you remember speaking to them about this case at all?
I remember speaking about my qualifications and my background, and I believe that's it.
Did you ever use any other medium to have conversations with the defense other than texts or emails or phone calls?
No, sir.
Did you ever communicate with them on Signal?
No, sir.
Why not?
There was no reason to.
As an expert, when you communicate with clients, there's no concern about having it in writing, is there?
So when I
Keeping a record, whether it's a phone call or a text message or an email, there's no concerns when you're dealing with clients having a record of that, is there?
I don't believe that ARCCA has any specific policy for that, no, sir.
Did you keep track of your hours prior to your testimony?
I did, yes.
And before you testified, did you have conversations with people from the Department of Justice about this case?
Yes, I did.
Did they inform you about witness testimony?
They did inform me, yes, about testimony and situations and events that came forth in the trial that I was not aware of.
Who decided whether it was going to be an issue worthy of talking about before trial?
With the DOJ, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, certainly that would have been up to the DOJ. I mean, I would have had conversations with them. I don't believe that I asked or requested anything, but they
Sure.
were called to update us about what was going on.
Do you know why they were calling and raising certain issues with you?
I do not know, no, sir.
And by calling and raising issues and telling you information, even if you weren't requesting it, it helped prepare you for your trial testimony, didn't it?
It would certainly help prepare me to understand what was going on during the trial, yes.
Did you know there was a sequestration order? That there was supposed to be no discussion of testimony and issues that were occurring in the courtroom before you testified?
I'm going to allow it. Were you aware of that, sir?
No, I was not.
Okay.
After you testified, before you testified, did you get a chance to meet anybody from the defense?
Just when I came to court, I think for the voir dire is the first time I met anybody.
Did you just spend time with the defendant and the defense after your testimony?
Well, after my testimony at trial on the 24th, yes, I was provided a ride back to the airport, and I believe I was the last witness. So before my ride to the airport, they said, there's a lunch next door. We need to get somebody else to take to the airport. Come over, have lunch. I had lunch, stood in the corner, and then got a ride back to the airport.
Spend time with the defendant and her family?
Oh, they were certainly there.
Did you talk to them?
Well, they talked to me. As I said, I ate my lunch, and then I actually went and stood in the corner, and then I believe some people came over to talk to me and approach me.
So you spent some time with them?
Certainly, yes.
Okay. And, sir, I understand the report is not going to be ready until May 7th or after?
I believe currently that's what the estimated deadline is, yes.
And so in evaluating Dr. Welch's materials, you wanted to look at the raw data, the conclusions, the findings, the PowerPoint, all the materials, right?
Yes, you'd like to review all the materials before coming up with an
You
opinion.
make a decision on what you think is appropriate to contest or maybe agree with, and then do your own test if necessary, correct?
To be able to respond to what those opinions and allegations are, yes, sir.
And it's taken you at least a month to fairly do that, hasn't it?
Well, I believe that's what we've had, a month. I don't know if it's taken us a month. That's basically all we've had up to this point to do that.
And it's still not done?
No, not yet. That's correct, sir.
All right. Is that it, Mr. Brennan?
That's it, thank you.
All right. Can you get that report and everything completed before the 7th? If I order you to do so?
If you order me to do so, I mean, I could certainly try and expedite it, yeah.
All right. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. You're all set, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. I want to see counsel at sidebar for 1 minute.
Down, follow me.